in a locked warehouse in Las Vegas. And 2 months earlier, she vanished from Florida without a trace. Police already knew her name. They just didn't realize it belonged to the same woman. Because by the time she was pulled off that concrete floor in Vegas, she wasn't a missing person anymore. She was a mystery no one knew how to explain. And to understand how she ended up there, we have to go back to the moment she disappeared. On June 3, 2019, Emily Carter sent one final text to her sister. It read, "Back soon. Love you." That message was sent from a rest stop just outside Jacksonville, Florida. Emily was 27 years old. She worked as a bartender, no criminal record, no history of running away, and she was supposed to be home by midnight. She never made it. By the next morning, her phone was off. Her car, a silver Toyota Corolla, was missing, and every call went straight to voicemail. At first, her family thought it was nothing. Maybe a breakdown, maybe she crashed at a friend's place. But by nightfall, panic set in. Emily never disappeared. She never missed work. She never went silent. So her sister reported her missing. And almost immediately, something felt wrong. Police pulled phone records. The last GPS ping confirmed it. Emily's phone stopped moving near that Florida rest stop. But when officers arrived there, no car, no phone, no security footage. It was like she had stepped into thin air. Then came the first strange detail. Emily had withdrawn $3,200 in cash earlier that day. That wasn't normal. She barely kept money in savings, and she hadn't told anyone she was traveling, which led investigators to their first theory. She left on purpose. But that theory didn't last long. 2 days later, Emily's car was found. Not in Florida, not even close. It was discovered outside Phoenix, Arizona, abandoned in a Walmart parking lot. The keys were still inside, her purse was gone, and the trunk? Completely empty. No blood, no signs of a struggle. Just one thing left behind. A single high-heeled shoe that no one could explain. Police ran traffic cameras. The car had crossed 4 states in under 24 hours, which meant someone was driving it fast. Very fast. But here's the problem. There was no footage of Emily driving. Every camera showed the same thing. A tall figure, wearing a hoodie, face always turned away. And that's when the case officially turned dark. For weeks, police chased leads. A rideshare driver questioned and cleared, an ex-boyfriend with an alibi, a coworker who failed a polygraph but had no evidence against him. Search teams combed highways, helicopters scanned desert land. Nothing. Emily Carter became just another missing poster, until something happened that no one expected. 7 weeks later, more than 2,000 miles away, a 911 call came in from Las Vegas. An anonymous caller said only 5 words, "There's a woman locked inside." Then the line went dead. Police traced the call to a disconnected burner phone. The location? An abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Officers expected a prank. Instead, they found a locked steel door, and behind it, a woman lying on the floor. Alive, barely. She'd been beaten, starved, and chained. Her hair had been cut short, her fingerprints burned, her body covered in bruises at different stages of healing. Doctors said she'd been held for weeks, maybe longer. And when police asked her name, she hesitated, then gave a different one. She called herself Lola. Records showed Lola was a stripper working at a Vegas club. No ID, no past, no missing person report, just a ghost that appeared out of nowhere.
But one detective noticed something, a small scar on her shoulder, a crescent-shaped mark. It matched the description on a Florida missing person file, the file for Emily Carter. Fingerprints confirmed it. The woman found in the warehouse was the same woman who vanished from Florida. But here's where the story takes a turn no one saw coming. Emily didn't act rescued. She didn't ask about her family. She didn't ask how long she'd been gone. Instead, she begged detectives for something else, protection, because, she said, they're going to finish it. And when police asked who they were, Emily went silent, stared at the wall, and whispered something that chilled the room. They let me disappear on purpose. That single sentence shattered the entire case because it meant one thing. Emily hadn't just been taken, she was used. And whatever happened between Florida and Vegas was far from over. But what detectives uncovered next would reveal a trail of lies, fake identities, and people who never officially existed. And at the center of it all was the reason Emily was never meant to be found. But before police could protect her, someone else made their move.
Part 2. Investigation deepens. The first threat came less than 12 hours after Emily was rescued. It wasn't a call. It wasn't a message. It was a dead security camera. The hallway outside her hospital room went dark for exactly 90 seconds. When it came back online, nothing looked wrong. Except the nurse on duty swore she heard footsteps and a man whispering Emily's name. Police immediately moved her. New hospital, new room, 2 armed guards outside the door. But the damage was already done. Emily knew something no one else did, and she was terrified of saying it out loud. Detectives started from the beginning. Not Florida, not Vegas, the space in between. They pulled flight records, bus tickets, rideshare data, hotel logs. Nothing. Emily didn't exist in any system after June 3rd. No cameras, no credit cards, no social media activity. It was a perfect disappearance, which meant someone planned it, and planned it well. When Emily was stable enough to talk, detectives tried again. They asked how she got from Florida to Arizona. She shook her head. They asked how she got to Vegas. She started crying. Then she said something that changed the direction of the entire investigation. "I never left Florida." The room went quiet. She explained slowly, carefully, because every word scared her. Emily said after stopping at the rest area, a man approached her car. He looked normal, mid-30s, clean clothes, friendly voice. He asked if she had jumper cables. When she stepped out of the car, she felt a needle. That's all she remembered. When she woke up, she wasn't in Arizona. She wasn't in Vegas. She was in a house. No windows, no clocks, no idea where she was. And she wasn't alone. There were other women, some crying, some silent, some already broken. They were told one rule: new names, no real details, no questions, and if they complied, they'd live. Emily said she became Lola on day 3. That was the name they gave her, and once she accepted it, everything changed. She was cleaned, fed, trained, not for survival, for performance. Detectives realized what they were hearing. This wasn't a random kidnapping. This was human trafficking, but not the kind people expect. There were no street pickups, no overseas transport. This was domestic, organized, and invisible. Emily described how the women were moved, never together, always blindfolded, always transferred between vehicles, sometimes for hours,
sometimes for days. She said they were taken to different cities, different clubs, different jobs, and every time she tried to remember faces, they changed guards, changed voices, changed tactics. It was designed so victims couldn't identify anyone. Then came the part Emily didn't want to talk about, the reason she ended up in that warehouse. She said she broke a rule, a big one. She tried to leave. Emily told detectives she overheard something she wasn't supposed to. Two men arguing. One said her real identity had been flagged, that someone from Florida was asking questions, and suddenly she became a liability. They couldn't release her. They couldn't move her again. So they did something worse. They erased her. The warehouse wasn't a holding place. It was a waiting room for death. Emily said she was told she'd fade out quietly. No body, no record, just another missing woman no one would ever connect. Until something unexpected happened. Emily escaped by pure chance. One guard forgot to lock a chain. She crawled across concrete, found an old phone hidden in a crate, and made one call. She didn't know who would answer. She just prayed someone would. Now detectives had a direction, but they still didn't have names, or faces, or proof, until they dug into something small, something almost meaningless. The stripper license registered under the name Lola. It was fake, but it had been issued by a real clerk at a real government office, which meant someone inside the system was helping. And when detectives paid that clerk a visit, they realized this wasn't just a trafficking ring. It was protection at multiple levels, including people who were never supposed to be involved. Before they could dig deeper, Emily vanished again, this time from police custody. No alarms, no forced entry, just an empty bed and one message written on the bathroom mirror in lipstick. 3 words that confirmed everyone's worst fear. You're too late. And whoever took her back wasn't afraid anymore.
Effect immediately. Every entrance sealed, every staff member detained, every camera reviewed frame by frame. There was no sign of a struggle. No sedatives missing, no alarms triggered. Emily hadn't been taken. She had been released. That meant someone with clearance made the call, or someone with power erased the evidence. And now, the clock was ticking again. Detectives split into teams. One focused on Emily's past, the other followed the infrastructure that allowed Lola to exist. Both paths led somewhere uncomfortable. In Florida, investigators re-interviewed everyone: friends, co-workers, family. That's when they uncovered something Emily never told anyone. 3 months before she vanished, she had interviewed for a job. Not bartending, not hospitality, private event coordination. The recruiter used a burner email, no company name. The interview location, a hotel conference room. And Emily didn't get the job. But she stayed in contact with the recruiter, up until the day she disappeared. Phone records showed brief calls, always under a minute, always at odd hours, and never from the same number twice. This wasn't a job, it was a test. Meanwhile, in Vegas, detectives tracked the license. The clerk admitted it. He didn't know what the licenses were for. He was paid to process applications without questions. Fake names, fake addresses, real IDs, all tied to one middleman, a man named Victor Hale. Not his real name, but it appeared everywhere. Leases, vehicle registrations, shell companies. Victor didn't exist on paper before 2017. No birth certificate, no social security history. Just appeared and vanished again every time someone tried to find him. They finally located him through a mistake, a parking ticket. issued to a black SUV, parked outside a private hangar at a small airport outside Las Vegas. When detectives arrived, the hangar was empty, but the office wasn't. Inside, they found something worse than evidence. They found records, names, aliases, cities, schedules, dozens of women, some marked active, some marked retired, and a few marked with a single letter, D, dead. Emily Carter was listed, status, pending. That meant she wasn't supposed to be alive. Then the contradictions started piling up. Financial records showed payments moving through casinos, high roller accounts, money that couldn't be traced to individuals, which suggested something bigger than trafficking, something cleaner, something protected. One detective noticed a pattern. Every city where women were moved had one thing in common: a private club, invite only, no online presence, membership by referral only, and none of them were ever investigated. They interviewed dancers, drivers, security. Everyone told the same story. They didn't know the women. They didn't ask questions. They were paid not to. Then came the biggest contradiction: Emily's hospital disappearance. Security footage showed her leaving, walking, unrestrained, wearing a hoodie. She got into a car and smiled, which meant one thing: she trusted whoever picked her up. Detectives returned to Emily's statements, replayed audio, slowed down audio, and finally heard it. In one recording, barely audible, Emily whispered, "They said if I ever got out, my sister wouldn't." That changed everything, because now this wasn't about silence, it was about leverage, and someone still had it. Police placed protection on Emily's sister, monitored her phone, her emails, and that's when the call came. Unknown number, distorted voice, 5 words. She knows the rules. Then it hung up. They traced the call. It bounced through 3 countries, ended nowhere, but it confirmed one thing: Emily was alive, and she was communicating, just not with police. Detectives believed Emily was trying to do something risky, something that could expose the entire operation. But before they could intervene, a body was found. Not Emily's, a woman listed in the hangar records, marked retired, dead in a motel room, staged as an overdose, except she'd never used drugs. The message was clear: cooperate or disappear. Again. And Emily was running out of time, because the next name on that list was hers. And this time there wouldn't be a warehouse, there wouldn't be a phone, and there wouldn't be a rescue, unless detectives made a move they weren't prepared for. And that move would cost someone their life.
Dose in less than 48 hours. No press conference, no follow-up, no questions. The woman's name disappeared from the system within a week. And just like that, the investigation lost momentum. Not officially, but practically. Funding was cut. Resources were reassigned. The task force shrank from 20 people to 5. And the message was unspoken but clear: stop digging. One detective refused. Detective Aaron Miles had been on the case since day 1. And he noticed something no one else wanted to acknowledge. Every time they got close, someone above them shut it down. Evidence delayed. Search warrants denied. Witnesses suddenly unavailable. This wasn't negligence. It was interference. Miles kept working off the books, at night, on his own time. He followed the money, and it led somewhere disturbing. Political donations, large ones, from shell companies tied to Victor Hale, to campaigns in Nevada, Arizona, Florida. This wasn't just organized crime. It was protected crime. Then something unexpected happened. Emily contacted him, not directly, through a dead email account. One message, 3 words: trust no one. Attached was a photo, grainy, dark, but unmistakable. It showed Emily alive, holding a newspaper dated 2 days earlier. Behind her, a familiar logo. The same private club Miles had seen in every city. The metadata revealed the photo was taken in Miami, which meant Emily had gone back, on purpose. Miles tried to warn her, tried to reach her, but she disappeared again. And this time there were no threats, no bodies, no messages, just silence. Months passed. The case stalled completely. Emily Carter was officially listed as missing, presumed deceased. The hangar evidence was locked away. Victor Hale vanished, and the warehouse in Vegas was demolished. Erased. Miles couldn't let it go. He kept one copy of the records, hidden, encrypted, just in case. And that decision would haunt him. 16 months later, a construction crew outside Tampa made a discovery: a buried shipping container. Inside, 3 women, 2 dead, 1 alive, barely. That single word reopened everything. Federal agencies stepped in, witness protection was activated, and Detective Miles was pulled back in. Because whatever this was, it hadn't ended. It had just been waiting. The survivor confirmed it. Emily was alive. She had become something else. Not a victim. A liability. Someone who knew too much and was trying to bring it down from the inside. But there was a problem. Emily wasn't hiding anymore. She was being hunted by people with money, power, and a deadline, because she was planning to expose them, and she had proof. But before she could deliver it, someone found her first. And this time, they didn't plan on letting her disappear. They planned on making an example. And the place they chose would shock everyone.
Buried, not staged to look accidental. Displayed. The location was impossible to ignore. A rooftop parking structure in downtown Miami. Morning commuters saw it first. A woman laid out in the open, hands zip-tied. A single spotlight aimed directly at her. And taped to her chest a laminated card. 1 word printed in black. Lola. Detectives rushed to the scene. At first glance, it looked final. Severe trauma, signs of restraint, no pulse. But one EMT noticed something. Her chest moved, just barely. She was alive. When they removed the tape, everyone froze. It wasn't Emily, but it was someone meant to be mistaken for her. Same haircut, same height, same scar on the shoulder, freshly cut. A copy. A message. This wasn't murder, it was a warning. Emily was telling them something, or someone else was. Federal agents took over immediately. This time the case couldn't be buried. Too public, too brutal, too intentional. The woman survived, and when she woke, she confirmed it. Emily had set this up. The rooftop, the timing, the name. All of it. A distraction. While every agency focused on Miami, Emily was somewhere else, doing the one thing no one expected. She was leaking everything. Anonymous files began appearing online, encrypted at first, then cracked. Videos, transaction records, private club membership lists, high-profile names, politicians, executives, celebrities, people no one expected to see connected to a trafficking ring. The media exploded. Stories were pulled down. Journalists went silent. Then came the arrests. Not the leaders, the fall guys. Drivers, low-level enforcers, people meant to take the fall. But Emily wasn't done. Detective Miles received one last message. A location pin, no explanation, just coordinates. He didn't tell anyone. He went alone. The location led to the Florida Keys, a private island owned by a shell corporation tied to Victor Hale. Miles arrived just after midnight. What he found inside the main house changed everything. Hard drives, hidden rooms, cameras, live feeds. This wasn't just trafficking, it was blackmail. Clients were recorded, every interaction documented and controlled. That's how the operation stayed protected. Everyone was compromised. And then Miles heard a voice. Behind him, calm, familiar. Don't turn around. It was Emily, alive, unchained, different. She told him the truth. She had been recruited first. The job interview wasn't fake. It was a test. She passed. Then she tried to leave, and they made an example out of her. But they underestimated her. Emily didn't want rescue. She wanted control. And she had it now. Because she had copies of everything, and she had already sent them to multiple dead drops worldwide. But there was one problem left. Victor Hale. He wasn't just a middleman. He was the architect. And he was on the island, listening. Before Miles could react, the lights went out. Gunfire echoed through the house. And when the noise stopped, only one person was standing. And it wasn't clear whether Emily had finally won or if this was the moment everything ended. Because when the lights came back on, someone else was dead.
The lights came back on. Victor Hale was dead. One gunshot to the chest. No weapon in his hand, and no clear shooter. Detective Miles froze. Emily stood across the room, breathing hard, blood on her sleeve, but not hers. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Emily said something Miles would never forget. He was never supposed to walk away. Sirens approached the island, too fast, too coordinated. Someone had already alerted authorities. Emily smiled, not with relief, with certainty. Federal agents swarmed the property. They secured the drives, the rooms, the evidence. Emily didn't run. She didn't resist. She sat on the floor and waited. Because she knew something they didn't. This story was already out of their hands. Within 48 hours, everything changed. High-profile arrests were announced, quietly. Executives resigned. Politicians entered medical leave. Several men died by suicide. And the media narrative shifted. Not trafficking, not blackmail. An isolated criminal enterprise. Victor Hale was named the mastermind, a lone villain, a convenient ending. Emily Carter was charged, accessory to homicide, conspiracy, federal offenses. The woman who disappeared was now the most dangerous witness alive. But here's what never made the news. Emily never denied shooting Victor Hale. She also never admitted it, because ballistics couldn't place the weapon in her hands, and the only other person in the room was Detective Miles. Miles was cleared, officially, but his career was over. Forced retirement, non-disclosure agreements, silence. Emily took a deal, limited sentence, lifetime protection, new identity. She vanished again, this time legally. The drives from the island? Most were classified. Some were lost. A few still circulate online, if you know where to look. Years later, a journalist tracked Miles down, asked him one question: did Emily win? Miles didn't answer right away. Then he said, she didn't beat them, she scared them. Because the operation never fully stopped. It just changed shape. New names, new clubs, new cities. But one thing did change. Victims started escaping, more often, more boldly, like someone taught them how. And sometimes, in different parts of the country, women disappear, only to reappear weeks later, alive, with evidence and a warning. No one has seen Emily Carter since, but every few years, a leak happens, a powerful name falls, and a single word appears online, signed at the bottom of the file: Lola. So here's the question that still haunts investigators. Did Emily expose the system, or did she become part of something even bigger? Because if Victor Hale wasn't the real architect, and if Emily didn't pull the trigger, then the most dangerous person in that room may have been the one who walked away and disappeared forever.